the International Women's Day. And what
Yeah.
does this day mean to you? What is it about?
Yeah. Actually, I was thinking about this question even this morning, and it's kind of tricky because I honestly thought it was kind of like a PR thing. I was like, a lot of companies are doing this and didn't actually realize the full history of it. So before chatting with both of you, I was looking up the actual history. And obviously, it's about, women's rights, equal pay.
Mm-hmm.
At the time of when it started, it's about suffrage as well. But I think it's kind of taken a little bit of a turn for people because obviously there are different things that we need equality on. It's more of an intersectional lens now
Right.
of what like feminism even is, because you take in like trans rights, you take in like women of color have different barriers
Mm-hmm.
than white women who were the actual who started it. It was very like white centric, I think. And now it's kind of like, how do we just bring everyone into these conversations and bring everybody into creating a more equal space for everybody? And I mean, I think that it's kind of, it's inspiring, but at the same time, I think it's a little bit overlooked because if you think of how Pride is celebrated versus how International Women's Day is
Mm-hmm.
celebrated, it's kind of got a different vibe, right?
Oh
So,
yeah, absolutely.
um, yeah, so I'm hoping that we can, amp it up again, use it as an opportunity to educate people about what has happened and the work that has been happening, and the work that's still left to be done.
Lots of
And I
work.
mean, yeah, there's still so much to do, but I think it can be a day of celebration at the same time, keeping in mind though that it's ever changing. There's always so much to do,
Mm-hmm.
and using it as a day of education.
I love your answer. I mean, I was thinking about this big day today too, and I was like, we need to actually kind of celebrate it. I mean, not like maybe not like pride parades, but to cheer up, more not funny stuff, but more like inspirational and you know, yeah, that is lots of
Yeah.
work, lots of work. Okay, sorry, it was just a short remark.
Yeah, no,
No,
and I think like it can be fun,
Right.
but at the same time it's like it's kind of like it's very like women because we're always like kind of like quieting ourselves, not celebrating ourselves. So I think it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of ironic, that we can or that we should be able to celebrate ourselves more openly and be excited about it. I think it's just funny, but I think we should turn it into something a little bit more fun because it can
Yeah.
be. It's supposed to be.
Yeah, why
So
not?
that's
Absolutely.
right. Erin, can you tell us about your journey and your greatest achievement that you had so far?
Um, yeah, I mean, so I started, if we talk about kind of like work stuff, I started off my career in the corporate world. So in my second year of university, I got an internship that I then worked throughout my school year. They actually asked me to stay after the summer part-time
Mm.
in a corporate bank. And I just kind of like kept, part-time over the school year, full-time over
Mm-hmm.
the summer, and that translated into a full-time job upon graduating.
Mm-hmm.
But then I stayed at the bank for a total of 5 years, and I think my greatest achievement of like the last, I guess, 6 years of my like career. It's still new. I just started, but I think one of the greatest achievements was being able to like believe in myself to take the leap into entrepreneurship. Because I had a lot of achievements obviously in the corporate world, and I don't want to discount that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think the biggest, most terrifying decision, but also the most rewarding decision right now has been just like the belief in myself. Like it's not even something that I got an award for, it's not like I got some certificate of anything. It's just, being able to like believe that you're able to do something that aligns more with what I wanted to do.
That's
Um,
important. Yeah,
yeah.
Absolutely.
can relate.
Yeah.
So, speaking about, okay, we spoke about achievements, but what about challenges or any main obstacles in progressing your career?
Yeah. I think that, I mean, there's always, I was reflecting on this, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint like one big
Mm-hmm.
obstacle because I truly believe that, like, you know, life is just a series of obstacles that you have to
Absolutely.
overcome. I mean, like one big one would have been like my first interview in corporate. Like that was really hard, like getting the job there in the first place. If you had asked me then, like that was the biggest thing, right? But I think that one of the biggest obstacles was really like when I was in the position of like still being in my corporate job and knowing that it wasn't for me. And right before like making that decision, be like, okay, what do I do? Like, I can't stay here. I don't want to go somewhere else. I know that my pathway is entrepreneurship and doing this climate work. And like really true climate work is like what I'm doing now. And I mean, and that can change, who knows? But I think like the biggest barrier and the biggest like obstacle was just having to live that for a period of time. Like you had to live, right? Like it wasn't financially feasible to leave at the time. So there was a solid like 2 years when I was like,
Wow.
I'm not going to be in corporate, but I have to be here. And I mean, that's not a big struggle. Like I had a solid job, you know, but like it's still just, it hurts your soul a little bit when you know that you're doing something that doesn't align with you. So yeah.
Yeah.
So has pandemic like brought any changes or added to your obstacles, or you know it has been the same, smooth?
Yeah, it definitely has added a lot of obstacles. So when I started Impact Zero, I started that in February of 2020. So if you think
Right
about
before
that
the pandemic.
timeline, yeah, about a month and a half before the pandemic hit. And before lockdowns hit, I should say. The pandemic was alive and well at that point. But I was totally underestimating the impact that the pandemic would have on my business, because Impact Zero, what we do is we connect people, and we do still host events. They're online now, but it was all about events, you know, community building, people together, being happy, having fun. And and so when the pandemic hit, I had it was like it aligned with me launching the network, because Impact Zero kind of started as an entity, and then a couple months later we actually started like the formal network membership stuff. And I was kind of at this decision point of like, okay, do we do this online? If so, how the heck are we going to do this online? Or do we kind of move with like the plan of in-person events? Like our launch party was in person downtown Toronto. Like it was so much fun. We had like, I don't know, like it was like 30 or 40 people there, and like it was just a great time. So yeah, I mean, like the whole time that Impact Zero has been operating, it's just been like, okay, what's happening? Like
What
the
to it
pandemic
out?
just, yeah, like I don't know how this is gonna work. But I mean, that's what entrepreneurship is, right? Just finding a barrier and figuring out how to overcome it.
Yeah.
Because that's
whether
it's pandemic or not, yeah, like there are going to be decisions and difficulties and things that you don't know how to deal with. So yeah, it's fun. It's hard, but it's fun.
Yeah, that's right. So what are the women that you look up to, like who inspire you, especially in these times? So do you have an inspiration that, you know, motivates you to achieve your goals or keep going at it? Can you name some women that you look up to?
Yeah, I don't think I have like one specific person that is like my idol. I never have. Like as a kid growing up, like I never really had like, you know, some famous person I was like obsessed with. I'm just not that kind of person. But overall, the women that I really, really admire and give me a lot of energy to continue doing the work that I do are the small business owners in Toronto that we work with, who have been put through so much to keep their businesses alive, especially this last year. And especially like think like it's hard for normal businesses, but we work with sustainable businesses, right, who have like reusable programs, and everything they're doing is for the planet and for like equality and like helping their communities. And so it's really hard to see people with such good intentions struggle. And so that's why like at Impact Zero, we're all about supporting people, you know, helping them through. So at least like we're not going to make the hard times go away, But we are at least going to make it a little bit easier for people to navigate. So like Tennis and Mara from Green Jar Shop are a team that come to mind because they opened their brick and mortar store right before the pandemic, and they are still alive. Like their business is thriving on St. Clair West. And I'm working with Catherine Merritt from Case, who she's working with us actually to do a pilot for reusable takeout containers at restaurants in Toronto. And who else? Sophie Robertson, your eco friend, she's been like a huge supporter of Impact Zero for so long, and she's helping to educate Toronto about zero waste living and about sustainable living. Like there are so many women I can list off because the sustainability movement is like definitely driven by women. But yeah, like anyone who's using their time, their energy, their capacity for work to do good, for whether you're talking about environmental solutions, social solutions, because they're heavily intertwined. Like anyone that's trying to make our world a better place inspires the heck out of me. And I love that my job lets me talk to them all the time. Like I'm only ever talking to inspiring people. And that's why I'm just like so full of life now, because it's like everyone is just so passionate and like so like I don't even know if I can describe it. Like passionate is like it's not even like a strong enough word to use. But just like getting energy from them is everything, and I love it.
That's actually how, I mean, last week for us was exactly the same because we had so many interviews with incredible women. Like they are so inspirational, and we were just listening to their stories, and we were just like, I'm gonna do something great right now, because they were like, just like fire, you know. So yeah.
And it's funny, like, you know, the impact these stories make in your life, it's incredible. You know, the energy that you feel just by the conversations that you have, you know. And I don't know, it's women, I guess, you know, that are inspiring, motivational, and, you know, I'm sure, like, you know, like us, there are many who feel the same. Talking to other inspiring women, you know, women who have achieved greatness, or who are so strong. And then you sometimes, you know, look back and you're like, you know what, you have the potential in you to do something more than what you're doing.
Oh yeah. And something else I want to say too is that part of our work about building the circular economy, like you need collaboration, right? Like not one business started the climate crisis, not one business is going to end it. Like I say this all the time. And you definitely need the feminine energy. Like collaboration is part of like a feminine energy. Like not saying that like only women, like men have, you know, feminine, it's a scale, right? So but it is like collaboration is a feminine thing. And so like we need to have this feminine energy brought into these solutions, because the very like capitalist natural resource extractive systems that are very competitive and ego driven and wealth driven and accumulation driven is why we're in this climate crisis, right? I strongly believe that women, not just women, but like taking femininity into account and bringing feminine energy into business through what collaboration, through, you know, just being genuine, having emotions, being part of your decisions. Like don't make it just about dollars and cents. Like what about your community, you know, like and being caring and being respectful of like non-living things, or even living things that just don't have voices. Like we need to bring this into the conversation. So without this feminine energy, without the collaboration, we're also not going to solve this stuff. Like there are so many different ways that you can take into account, and like women who have been driving this are working so well because we're willing to be collaborative, and because we have like this community, like goodness, positive vibes, I don't know what to call it, about it. And I really think it's going to change the world. Like we need to have women like step up and take up the space, right? And like say, you know what, like this isn't working and we know how it's going to work. And like it's terrifying to do that and be the person that stands up and says that, but we need it. Like we absolutely need that.
Yeah, I agree. So speaking on, you know, women, about business leaders, can you name one book or maybe some books written by strong business leaders especially women that inspire you. Just like, wow, it's incredible.
So I have one that isn't so much a business book as it is about, actually, it sounds like it doesn't make sense, but I promise it does.
Okay.
So I'm almost done reading Braiding Sweetgrass. So Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. And it's all about, okay, so she's Indigenous. She's living in the States, also known as still part of all Turtle Island, like Turtle Island is Canada and America. But she writes about natural systems. She's a botanist, and she has Indigenous ancestral knowledge about the lands, right? So she brings like a very interesting perspective to just understanding the world, because I'm not Indigenous, like I am of European descent, and so having her perspective and connecting like Western science practices to Indigenous traditional knowledge is really insightful, because she talks about, you know, like all these symbiotic relationships between various species and like all of these things that like I just keep connecting it back to business, right? Because you need to have some people working in one space and other people working in another space to support each other in business. You know, like everything that we do has to be modeled after natural cycles, especially in circular economy, because circular economy is regenerative. There's no waste in nature, right? And so if we don't want to have waste in our economic systems, we need to look to nature to figure out how that happens. So, well, it sounds random, and like just talking about, you know, like the flowers and the animals. Braiding Sweetgrass is actually a really fantastic book if you just want to learn about how things work in different systems, and learn more about like traditional knowledge on the lands that we're currently operating in, and how you can incorporate that into your business, because it'll make your business stronger if you acknowledge the fact that like we need to have each other, we need to respect things. And like I can go into why circular economy is good for business, because it is, but I think Braiding Sweetgrass is just a good thing. Like read it with a business mindset, and I think you're going to be like getting things out of it that you might surprise yourself about.
I should read it too. What's the name again?
Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. You can get it on audiobook too.
I should put it on my Goodreads account. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for sharing all the stuff, stories, and all your knowledge. Again, it's always cool meeting nice people, and today is a special day, and it's so great having you today.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. It's nice chatting.
Yeah.